All right, what we're going to learn about is the intro to trig ratios for trigonometry and finding missing sides. So this is very important that you understand all the parts of the triangle. Before we talked about short leg, long leg, hypotenuse. Well, now depending on where the angle is, it can they might have different names depending on which angle you're looking for. So one way of memory that you can remember, or one mnemonic is what it's called, and your people probably have heard this before, so if you say this, they'll be like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. It's SOHCAHTOA. If you remember that, then you're going to remember sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, which is the CAH, and then TOA is tangent opposite over adjacent. So if you remember SOHCAHTOA, that is going to help you with any of your trig ratios. So what's important here, again, is you understand where the angle is. Now there's a fancy word for angle, and that is a 0 with a line through it, and you pronounce it theta. So that's what this is right here. So when you see this, that's theta, which means the angle. All right, so let's go ahead and for here, let's look to figure out if your angle's here. Opposite is the angle that's opposite. Adjacent is the one that's right next to it, so the angle it's touching. And then hypotenuse is going to be opposite the right angle. All right, so let's practice labeling our sides. So for this one, hypotenuse, that's pretty easy because it's right there. And then I'm going to do a different color. Let's do green. So theta, your angle is right here. So what's opposite, this would be opposite. I was going to write it out for you. Opposite. And then your last one would be adjacent. So this is adjacent because it's right next to theta. All right, so let's go for B. Let's try this. Hypotenuse should be the easy one. Hypotenuse should be the one that's opposite. And then you've got theta is up here. So since theta's here, this is going to be opposite down here. And then the one right next to theta is going to be adjacent. All right, and then let's try this one right here. Oops. Theta is here, so whatever is right next to theta is going to be your adjacent. Opposite is going to be opposite of theta, and then your hypotenuse is always going to be opposite the right angle. All right, so double check to make sure you know which one you're using, because that'll determine which function we're going to use. All right, so very important. Now, typically your calculator should already be in degree mode, but just make sure when you're looking at it, it is in degree mode. And then we can show you more in class. So to evaluate each of the following, use your calculator round to the nearest thousandths. So for this one, all you do is you enter in your calculator sine, and you'll see it. And like I said, we can go over this in class to show you where it is, but depending on which calculator you have, it could be different. So you're going to do sine 62, and when you enter that in, you're going to get a 0.883, and there will be a bunch of other numbers after it too, but we're only rounding to the nearest thousandth. So I got 0.8829 for something or another. But remember, we're rounding to the nearest thousandth, so that's why we put 3 there. All right, now for this next one, you say that as cosine. So you're going to take the cosine of 132 and enter that into your calculator. And then you're going to get a negative point, and I got 6691, but we're only rounding to the nearest thousandths. All right, and then for this one, you say tangent. That's how you say that one. Tangent 78 is 4.705. So pretty easy. All you gotta do is enter it into the calculator. But now we're gonna start doing a little more steps with it and upping the difficulty, but not by too much. Now we're gonna solve for this. So what you need to do is you're still gonna need your calculator, but you can set this up by setting up a proportion. And when you set up the proportion, you're going to get x equals, and then 15 times, so you go there, sine 23. Oops. All right, now that you've got that, now you can go ahead and enter into your calculator 15 times sine 23. And you're going to get 5.861. Alrighty, so the same thing here is just set up a proportion and then you can cross multiply. So for here, you're going to set it up and you're going to cross multiply, and it's going to be 5 times cosine 74. Oops, I did that one cut off, didn't I? Okay, and you're going to enter into your calculator 5 times cosine 74. And if you did that correctly, you should get 1.3781. But rounding to the nearest thousandths, that's what you're going to get. All right, now this one, same thing. You're going to cross multiply, and you'll get 3 equals y times tangent 60. All right, this one's difficult because we need to get y by itself. So since we have to get y by itself, we need to move this over here somehow. So to do that, since you're multiplying, you're going to divide both sides by tangent 60. Oops, why did I write 3y there? All right, so this cancels out to give you 1. So you get y equals 3 over tangent 60. And then now you would go 3 divided by tangent 60. And you will get 1.7320. But you round it to the nearest thousandths. So that's your answer there. So remember, if you need to get y by itself, it's okay if you divide to move this over here. All right, so for the next part is finding the side of a right triangle. So what you're going to do is we're going to set up trigonometry ratios, so our SOHCAHTOA. And I would suggest writing SOHCAHTOA at the top. To help you. All right, and SOHCAHTOA, so what we're going to do is that's going to help you with the ratios. So select a given angle, label your sides, decide which trig option to use, so which one, and then set up the proportion and solve. So for this case, we're looking for theta is right here. So we're going to say this is theta. And for theta, is 39, so we know this is going to be opposite. This one's next to theta, so it's adjacent, and this is opposite the right triangle, the right angle, so that's your hypotenuse. All right, so now we can go ahead and set that up. If we're looking for theta, theta is opposite over adjacent. All right, now let's go ahead and take the tangent of 39 equals 10, over x. So now we can go ahead and solve for it by setting up a proportion and cross multiplying. So we have x times tangent 39 equals 10. And now remember, if we're solving for x, we have to divide both sides by the tangent of 39. So tangent 39 Tangent 39 degrees there. That simplifies to give you 1. X is 10 over tangent 39. Whee. And then go ahead, enter it into your calculator, and you're going to get X equals, I'm going to smush it over here to the side. I'll put it right underneath. 12.349. All right, so you have to decide which are you going to use. Well, for this guy, we need opposite over adjacent, and then that's why we set this up. And then go ahead, plug in your numbers and solve. All right, so I'll do a couple and then you'll finish the rest. All right, so for this one, for number 1, let's label. So the angle is 35, so this is your theta right here. So now let's label. This is going to be opposite, this is adjacent, and this is going to be your hypotenuse. And so in order to find this angle, we're going to need opposite over adjacent. So remember, it's SOHCAHTOA. And if we need opposite over adjacent, well, this one is opposite over adjacent, so we're going to use tangent. Oh, I'm sorry. I messed that one up. Sorry. We need opposite over hypotenuse. We need opposite, I said the wrong thing, over hypotenuse. So opposite over hypotenuse would be this one, which is sine. I was like, wait, I'm not putting the wrong number on there. All right, so here we go. We're back on track. So we're going to do sine, which is opposite over hypotenuse. And now let's plug in our information. And we know opposite is B, hypotenuse is 16. Set up your proportion, cross multiply. All right, and then there you're going to get 16 sine 35, which equals B. And then when you plug that into your calculator, you're going to get 9.177. All right, so remember, if you're doing opposite, think of what information you need for that angle. And then for number 2, we're going to do this one. So let's label our sides. If this theta is here, then this is going to be opposite. This is going to be hypotenuse, and this is going to be adjacent. All right, so let's look at the information they gave us. So they gave us adjacent, and they gave us hypotenuse. So adjacent and hypotenuse are cosine, so that's what we're going to do. So now let's go ahead. Cosine of 54 equals adjacent, which is D, over hypotenuse, which is 25. Cross multiply. All right, go ahead and enter that into your snazzy calculator, and you get 14.695. All right, let's do another one. You're going to do this one. And then this one I'm going to do for you. I'm going to do 4. You're going to do those 2. All right, so for 4, theta is here. So that means this is opposite, this is adjacent, this is hypotenuse. So let's look at the information that they gave us. Ooh, what did I just do? All right, so theta's here. So opposite and adjacent. So now let's look. Which one is opposite over adjacent? That's this one. Okay, so we're going to need tangent. And let's go ahead, plug in the information we know. So theta is 20. We know opposite is going to be 10. Adjacent is x. Cross multiply. And now we can't have this, so we got to move it to the other side. This simplifies to 1. And then plug 10 divided by tangent 20, so you get 27.45. 475, excuse me. And that's your answer. All right, so you're going to do this one and these two. So remember, use SOHCAHTOA. That's going to help you. Think of what information they provide and what you're looking for. And then I'll give you a hint. On number 3, you're going to use sine. Number 5, you're going to use sine. And 6, you're going to use tangent.